Hello, and welcome to part 6 of the importance of preaching the Word of God. We're in 2 Timothy chapter 4. We're looking at verses 1 through 4. In the first 5 parts, we examined verses 1 and 2, and we saw there Paul's instruction to Timothy. We saw in verse 1 that he instructed Timothy on what he is to do, that he is to preach, number 1, he is to herald and publicly proclaim. And then what he is to preach is the Word of God. He's not to preach his own messages or his own themes, whatever he wants, but he is to take the complete Word of God and preach that. Then we looked at how he is to preach and how we are to proclaim the Word of God. And we saw that in verse 2, we are to be ready at all times to preach in season and out of season. That means when it's easy, when it's not easy, when it's popular, when it's not popular, when society wants it and when society doesn't want it. We're to preach in season and out of season. We are to reprove and to rebuke, and then we are to exhort or to admonish with all long suffering. Now we're going to look at the third part of his teaching to Timothy, and that is why it is so important that we teach and preach the Word of God. We'll begin looking at verse 3, looking at why it is so important. Verses 3 and 4 are very, lack of a better word, very devastating verses. If we really grasp what is being said here, it is mind-boggling. Look at verse 4. Paul says to Timothy, "For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine." The time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. Now the word endure here means to hold on to or to tolerate. And he's saying, Timothy, you need to be faithful in preaching the whole Word of God, because understand this, there's going to come a time when people are not going to tolerate sound doctrine. Sound means spiritually healthy, and as we said before, doctrine means teaching or instruction in the truth. So do you get this? Put these two together. Timothy, the time will come when people will not tolerate spiritual, healthy truth from the Word of God. They're not going to want to hold on to it. But instead, this is what they're going to do. Continue on here in verse 3. But after their own lusts, that means their own strong desires, their own strong wants, has nothing to do here with sexual immorality. It just means they want what they really want. But after their own lusts, they shall heap to themselves teachers. The word heap here means to surround yourself with or gather to yourself, to heap upon or to pile on. And he's saying they're going to bring to themselves, or they're going to go to, a certain type of teacher. They're going to surround themselves or accumulate to themselves teachers. What kind of teachers? Continue on here in verse 3. They shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. Itching ears means here, the word itching means to scratch or to tickle. And what he's saying here is that there's going to come a time when people are not going to want to hold on to sound truth, but rather their strong desire will be to have their ears tickled. They're going to become like the people in Isaiah's day who said, "Preach unto us smooth things." We don't want rough things. We don't want our boats rocked. We don't want to become uncomfortable. We want smooth things. That's what these people want here. They want their ears tickled. Now, when you have a scratch, when you have an itch, and you want to scratch that itch, why do we scratch an itch? Seems like a dumb question, doesn't it? But no, think about it. Think about it for a moment, because it really applies to these people here. When we have an itch, why do we scratch it? There's really 2 basic reasons. Number 1, because an itch is irritating. It's uncomfortable. We don't like them. Did you ever pick something up and you have it in both hands and you're kind of walking around with it, moving it from one place to another, and it seems like it's only 15, 20 seconds. You've got both hands occupied, and all of a sudden here comes an itch. It's on the end of your nose, it's on your face, and you start going back and forth, and like you're just hoping it'll go away, and it becomes so irritating after a while. You just have to put down whatever you have and get there and scratch that itch and get it taken care of. And that's why we scratch them, because they are irritating. We want the irritation gone. Secondly, we scratch an itch because it just plain feels good. It feels good to scratch your itch, especially you get an itch on your back. You ever have somebody come, "Can you scratch my back for me, please?" And they go around there and they just start going like this, and you're like, "Oh wow, it's like a wonderful thing." It just feels so great. Very seldom do you ever tell a person to stop. You notice that when they're scratching your back? I mean, they're back there rubbing the friction's got the end of their fingernails are starting to heat up and burn off, and you're just sitting there. Very seldom does the person go, "That's enough. You can stop now. I've had enough enjoyment from that." No, they just keep going till the person back there says, "That's it, it's got to be gone by now." Scratching an itch, having an itch scratched just feels good. You just get a puppy dog and turn him upside down and get him underneath his chin there and start scratching his belly and this and that. I mean, he's wiggling and waggling his tail and just loves you forever. Cats, the most impersonal thing that probably walk on the planet, is a cat. They want nothing to do with you unless you're feeding them. Well, go up to a cat and just get him on the top of his head between his ears and start to scratch him like that. You'll hear purring and all kinds of sweet noises coming out, and he'll just stay there forever, and as long as you keep doing it. Why? Because having an itch scratched feels good. Now you take that and you bring it back to these people. And you're talking about the Word of God. It says that there will come a time when they will not tolerate, they will not hold on to or tolerate sound biblical teaching. But because of their own strong desires, their own lusts, their own wants, they are going to heap to themselves teachers that are going to tickle their ears. They're going to heap to themselves teachers or bring to themselves teachers that, one, are not going to irritate them. They're not going to say anything that irritates them. And two, they're going to say things that make them feel good. That is exactly what we've got going on in the church here today. That is exactly what's happening today. People are heaping to themselves teachers. That means that whoever the preacher is, whoever the teacher is, whoever they're going to click that little clicker and turn on the television, it's going to be someone who tickles their ears, someone who doesn't irritate them. Whatever books they buy, whatever DVDs they listen to, whatever tapes that they listen to, it's going to be someone who makes them feel good and doesn't irritate them. Even if what they're telling them, this is what is so devastating, even if what they're telling them is not the truth. In fact, the implication here, the emphasis here, is that they don't want to hear the truth. See it again. For the time will come when they will not endure or tolerate sound teaching. But after their own desires, they will accumulate to themselves teachers having itching ears. This is a devastating, devastating statement. It's a condemnation upon a multitude of people. And unfortunately, it is exactly, as I just said, exactly what is happening today. And there are far too many preachers that are willing to accommodate them. There are people out there that only want to hear what they want to hear. As we continue on in the next part, we're going to pick up from here and show what physical actions that take place in their lives, what they actually physically do so that they can accomplish this, so that they will only hear what they want to hear, that which makes them feel good. So I encourage you please to tune into the next lesson, and I thank you for watching today. As always, may the Lord bless you.